Welcome to Homicide the Podcast. Hi, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Brandon.
This is episode 24
Yes.
of Homicide the Podcast.
Yeah. Who would have thought we'd make it to
And
24?
who did that sound? Hi, Anna.
Hi, it's me.
How have you been?
I've been good.
Yeah?
Just chilling like a villain.
I love it. We have a old friend that just started listening to the podcast, and she was listening to the beginning episodes, and she's like, I hope your producer never gets the buttons right.
Oh, I forgot.
Because it was in the beginning when you're like, which ones are which?
Yeah. Misty.
Unfortunately, I did just get a button right, but I have to tell you that's the only one that I know still to this day.
Misty, it will happen again.
Yeah.
Don't you
It
worry.
absolutely will.
We did even ask her what her thoughts were of the podcast, and she's like, it's a mess. And when I say that, I mean that with love, because it's like a good mess. And I'm like, that's what we're going for.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think we've been told we're messy often, so
Yeah, we might as well embrace it.
yeah, we're just showing our mess off to the world.
Have you guys been looking at your comments on TikTok lately?
No.
Yeah, we haven't been on in
We haven't
like a
been on
minute.
it. Oh my god, no, we haven't been on it. Why?
Okay,
We
well,
should
not
go
like
on.
lately, as in like the last couple of days. I don't remember when the last time I looked was.
Oh, okay.
But I feel like I've been seeing some comments of like people like thirsting after you guys. They're like, "Ooh, these men with like a slobbering face."
Ew, I didn't see that.
I didn't see that
I
either.
didn't see the one where I think somebody said I look and sound like Nick Kroll.
You
Oh,
do
Nick
kind
Kroll,
of.
And I was like, I've
yeah.
never gotten that before.
I've never
I
gotten
can
that
see
either.
it.
I think he's cute.
Oh, for sure.
He's got a big old mouth,
Okay.
which is probably why his show's called Big Mouth.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Well,
makes sense.
anyway,
I'll do it.
Great, Brandon. What can your story be described as?
Well, did we talk about what the episode is?
No.
Do we want to preemphasize that? Is that the word I was looking to use? I don't know.
Yes.
Sure.
I don't think preemphasis is a.
I don't think it was the
We
word
know what you
actually.
mean, though.
Yes, thank you.
Everyone knows what you mean.
Thank you.
Okay, Brandon and I were sitting. I think people have already been like, you guys are interesting. But we were sitting in a bar one night and like kind of drunk and maybe a little high. I don't remember. But we were sitting there talking about what our next episode was going to be. And one of us shouted, and I don't know who it was.
It was
It
you.
was probably me. That this episode would be called Hammer Time. Murders done by hammer.
What? Why
Oh
do you have to
my
do
God.
it with like a little head
What?
tilt? You were like, hammer time.
Because you're becoming the hammer.
Yeah, shit. Anyway, so that's what today's episode is
Yeah,
called.
so murders with hammers,
Hammer Time.
which is awful.
That's really gnarly.
it's really
awful.
bad. Yeah.
So my story today could be described as a tale of a narcissistic asshole. And I said narcissistic, weird.
Isn't that always how it goes?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, mine can be described with a quote from the killer. I don't know if you're a fan, but you should be. It's Hammer Time.
Are you kidding me?
Was that really his quote?
Yeah.
Oh
So the-
my
And
God.
you found this murder after
Yeah.
you titled it Hammer Time.
I found it as I was doing the research. I didn't even know it until I was in it. And I was like,
Whoa.
well, that worked out.
You're like, well, I guess we were on the same
Well,
page.
I mean, in the
Yes.
grand scheme of things, it didn't really work out, but
Well, not for some people.
it's awful.
I know it's really bad. Oh, God.
So why don't we do this? Why
Yeah.
don't we switch it up this week? And
Mhm.
instead of you being like, what have you been up to? Kevin, what have you been up to?
Well, guys, I have some things that I have some topics that I want to talk about.
Okay.
she
And
came
one of
with
them,
bullet
I
points.
did. And one of them is to remind everyone that the TV show I'm in, the episode
Yes.
comes out literally the night after our episode comes out on
Yes.
next Wednesday. I know. So go watch it.
Technically, it'll come out at 9 p.m. And
On
I'm going to say
Tuesday.
tonight because it will be coming out on Tuesday. So
Yes.
9 p.m.
Because we're recording the week before, but
It should
yeah.
be on Apple TV.
Yeah. So September 4th. I think September 4th is next Wednesday. So Bad Monkey on Apple TV, episode 5. You should see me.
His
Yay.
beautiful face. I'm so excited.
We'll see how much of me makes it in the episode. Hopefully, it's all of me.
We should do a
It's
watch
only a-
party.
But I know everyone keeps telling me that, and I'm like, I'm a little bit nervous because I don't know what's in it.
Well, it's been a long time. You
It's 2
filmed
years ago,
this
yeah.
a very long time ago.
I know, but the show is really fucking good.
It is good.
Like, it's really good.
We're 2
So,
episodes behind, so we need to catch up.
We are
But
because we've been out of town, which I feel like we say a lot on the podcast.
Well, we're
because
always
you guys
doing
are
something.
jet
Because
setters.
we just are always out of town.
We're just
So,
bougie bitches.
I guess so.
Yeah.
But anyway,
We just can't stay in place for too long.
I do have one thing because I've been seeing it in the news, or did like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, we should talk about this. I want to get your guys' opinion and perspective on Gypsy Rose.
Oh.
Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've talked about it before.
Both know who that- Have we? So I think she's been sensationalized in the news, but I want to get your guys' perspective because I think maybe I'm jaded sometimes with how I think people should do things. So, yeah, what do you guys think? Should she be a celebrity now?
No.
I
great.
get the idea of why people have created this kind of fan base behind her because of obviously she's been through a lot of shit, but she also took part in a murder.
Mhm.
And as much as like we've talked about like an eye for an eye idea, but it's still not right to kill somebody. So
Yeah.
glorifying her, and especially when the I don't remember his name, but the guy that she got to actually do it is still like in prison and is going to be in prison, and
Well,
she's just
and
like
he's-
living this life while she's the one that caused all of it to conspire when there could have been other routes.
Well, and he was, isn't he autistic? And like she convinced him to like do all this.
Yeah,
but
I think so.
Yet she can be out gallivanting around. And he's
I
just
also
in
think
prison.
it's interesting thinking of how she came out of prison and like immediately became an influencer, because I think it's a really weird sign of what's to come
I
Yeah.
agree.
with people. Like if they have committed an interesting crime,
Yeah.
then once they get out of prison, they don't really have many options as far as employment goes.
Mm-mm.
So go become an influencer, you know?
I mean, that's really interesting. I didn't even think about it that
Yeah.
way.
Like,
Yeah. Like, oh,
yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So basically, we need to murder someone first.
Oh,
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
If
And then
you
homicide
want
will go
homicide
crazy.
to really pop off.
yeah. I mean, what's a better headline than true crime podcast host kills?
Producer. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
I'm gonna
kidding.
go.
Well,
Bye.
that just got weird.
Bye.
That was a joke. Oh my god. No, I would
Imagine
never.
I turn up dead.
Oh my
They
god!
would come right out.
You guys are
They would
number
be.
one suspect.
They would come
I
knocking
had
at our
no
door.
part in the murder.
And I would be like, wait, that's really sad. I love
Just a
her.
note to the prosecutors. I don't think they did it.
But search and consider
But like
just
they
in
might
case.
have.
But like maybe. No, I think that it's been really interesting, but I'm kind of, people are like, well, she was so abused. And I'm like, well, she could have literally gotten up and walked out of her wheelchair and then questions would have came, right?
Yeah, but I think in that time,
know.
the hard part is she obviously was really caught up in this, and there is
Yeah.
videos that look like she's like she knows that she's doing something she shouldn't be, because there's things that you could
That's
see where it's like
sad. I mean,
she's
that's sad.
pretending to crawl, and it's like you could see that she could move her legs while she's doing it, but
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, regardless of that, even with that statement, no one's ever in that position. Well, we haven't been in that position.
No.
So we can't really talk about like what we would do because like, who knows? But yeah, I just feel like if she was, obviously she had been walking around. I wonder if she was walking around the house, right? With her mom there, because she seemed to be walking just fine. But if she was always wheelchair bound, she wouldn't have been able to,
Like actually, like her legs would like atrophy.
yeah, or something. Yeah. So I don't
Wow.
know, but I do think that she's being sensationalized and I hate it. And I'm like, every time I see it on E or something like that, I'm like, you guys are gross.
I know it's.
Like, stop.
I feel like it's toned down a little bit recently.
well,
It's not as
it was-
much, but she's still like
her being
pops up on
pregnant,
my
I
TikTok
think.
all the time.
Her being pregnant, I think, got.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
I'm so out of the loop with her. I didn't even know she was pregnant.
yeah. That's
Well,
what
and
I
then
saw
she
a
like
lot. I'm
got
like, oh.
divorced and got with this other guy, and
Yeah.
I mean, do your thing, but
Whatever, girl.
just don't murder anybody again. Okay.
Yeah. Ugh. Anyway, I wanted to bring that up, but then also Brandon and I watched. Have you watched Only Murders in the Building?
No.
Oh, it's actually really good.
It's really good.
I don't know why I've never. I mean,
You
I
should.
think that I
You
watched
should watch
the
it.
pilot
Yeah.
when it first came out, but that was like years ago at this
yeah.
point.
Do you ever walk up Broadway from here?
Yeah.
Okay, the building was right there. Like you passed the building from
Where the only murders are happening.
Oh.
Only in the building.
only in the building
Where
where it's
only the
filmed.
murders are happening only in the
Yeah.
building.
It's a great show actually, and it was really cute. But the new season just came out, and we watched it, and it was fantastic.
Well,
Love.
the first episode.
Oh, the first episode.
You know what
Yes.
I've been watching?
What?
New Girl.
Oh, I've never watched that.
No, I
Really?
think I've
No.
seen like a couple episodes when it first came out, and I never got into
that was
it.
like Prime when we were younger too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really get into it either when it first came out. I think I watched a little bit of it, but I didn't ever fully like binge, like sit down and binge it.
Yeah.
And I'm really into
You're
it
into
right
it
now. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we should watch it, Bran.
We should.
It's a
We have
fun
lot on
little,
our
like
list.
kind of mindless, like silly little show.
Yeah.
I
I love that.
Sometimes I need that.
Yeah.
To like, yeah.
Do you? Because we tend to only ever watch serious stuff.
Yeah, I do.
There's
like
times where
drama.
I'm like, can we just watch something stupid for a minute? Like, I
We
just want to
do.
not think.
We watch
And then he
Golden
puts on like this,
Girls.
like, okay, we put on Golden Girls every night to fall
we
asleep
watched
to. I'm not-
Futurama.
Again, to fall asleep to.
We did start watching The Bear.
That is not lighthearted.
Exactly. But we haven't.
I'm
We got.
like,
We got.
You just made
that's actually, yeah.
But in true like Kevin fashion, if he doesn't get like looped into something really quick, he like is done with it. So
I am.
the
Yeah.
last season, we got 2 episodes in, and he's like, I don't like this new season right now, and we haven't watched it since.
I
No,
also-
me too. For
I
The
didn't
Bear,
like
I
it.
watched 2 episodes and then I stopped.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
just was.
It was it was like a slingshot. The first episode was boring.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the second
Oh my God.
episode was way too stressful. Like
Yeah.
it was at a 10 for the entire episode. And
So,
I was
yeah,
like, yeah,
that's-
you burnt me out.
Yeah.
I'm done.
No, and I felt that. I felt super exhausted at the
Yeah.
end
Yeah.
of it. I think episode 1 is like from our like looking through an artistic lens was beautiful.
Yeah.
But it was so different.
It was beautiful, but I was just like, okay, all they're doing is visually showing us the pieces of the story that we already know happened.
Correct.
Which is great and you can do that. But
Yeah.
it kind of was like, okay, you're
But
gonna
it was for an
put-
entire episode. It was too long.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
going to put all of this into one episode instead of like streaming it throughout the season.
Exactly.
I don't
yeah.
know.
I
I
didn't
don't
love that.
love
And then
that.
that second episode, I was like, I am done for a minute.
Yeah.
Like, it was.
It's like,
I
why would
need
I
a
want to?
break.
Why would I want to live in this world?
No. Yeah. Like I don't want to do that. I'm sure when I think about acting in it, though, that would be a
Oh, yeah.
fucking phenomenal show.
Oh, yeah,
for sure.
To be a part of.
Mhm.
But
For sure.
yeah, I'm going to jump back into it, but man, I was exhausted from that
Yeah.
for sure. But The Bear was pretty good. But yes, I do like the dramas. I don't know.
He's
I like
what new
meaningful
documentary is on,
things. I do.
or what
Yeah.
like a psychological thriller that I have to pay attention to every little second detail to make sure I don't forget while Brandon's in the kitchen cooking or not paying attention.
Yeah.
Because if I've stopped looking for a minute, I'm like, I'm lost.
Yeah.
I'm so out of it.
And then he's rude about it.
No, then I just sit on my phone and ignore it. And then you get mad because I'm playing video games on my phone.
I'm like,
I'm
just watch
playing,
this
like-
with me. And he's like,
like-
I don't know what's
So-
happening.
Something
I'm
stupid.
like, whatever. I can explain it to you. And I do.
He's like, just pay attention.
Anyway, what's new with both of you?
Anna, what's new with you?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Nothing.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I have a wedding soon. Isn't that crazy? The first of my friends is getting married. In a
Oh,
And
couple
you're,
weeks.
and you're like 20. I don't know. I never remember. Are you 24 or
I'm
27?
26.
26.
24, 27.
24 or
Neither of those were
27?
Neither number was
It
I
would have been
do-
funny if you said
I-
25 or 27.
I
Yeah.
can't remember if we've talked about this on the podcast, but I feel like I'm 27. Like what age do you guys feel like you are? Because I'm 26, but for some reason this whole year, anytime somebody asks me how
You're
old
like,
I am,
you're
I'm
like
like I'm
aging
27,
yourself.
but no, I'm not.
I feel like I'm in my 40s already.
Really?
Mhm.
Do you have a specific number or
Mm-mm.
just in your 40s?
Just the whole range?
Okay.
I'm 40 to 49.
I'm just all of the 40s.
I would say I feel like I'm still like in my early 30s.
Oh, I love that for you.
Oh.
Yeah. I do.
For you.
For you.
I think my stress levels have brought me to feel like I'm,
Well,
That-
that's apparent
yeah.
for me
Oh.
as well.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So
Oh.
that's interesting though. Yeah. 20. When's your birthday?
November 4th.
Oh my God. So you turn 27 soon.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
So you're not like that wrong.
No,
say
but I
just-
have been thinking that like the whole time I've been 26.
do you think that once you turn like the age that you are, that you just start assuming that you're the next age that's coming up?
Not usually. I think this is the first year that that's really happened, but it is interesting because when you are 26, you're actually living your 27th year.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
you are
So you're technically
27.
27.
like in other
Yeah.
languages, like in Spanish, I'm pretty sure you say I have whatever number of years.
Oh.
which is like, that makes more sense.
That makes
because
total
I'm
sense,
saying I'm
yeah.
26, but I'm in my 27th
Because you've already
year.
lived your first year when you're
Yeah.
one.
Like when you say that
Huh.
you're 27, you've actually already lived 27 years.
Oh my God,
This is your 28th year.
That's really rough. So I'm technically in my 39th year of life.
Yeah.
Life.
Of
Which
life.
means next year I'm in my 40th year of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Well, that's exciting.
You're so annoying.
Brandon, what's up? What's new? Okay, yes, what's happening?
I don't know. We did just get back from a nice little vacation-y trip to Provincetown in Newport, Rhode Island, which was really fun. We did hear a story about this gentleman who we talked to at a coffee shop for a couple that we talked to at a coffee shop for about 3-4 hours.
We learned a lot.
We learned a lot about their heroin intake, their cocaine intake, their Giardia incident.
What is that?
Oh my God. It was lovely. We went to Provincetown, was the final leg of our like trip, because we love Provincetown. If you have not been to Provincetown, go. It is just the gay. Everyone's accepted there, and we can hold hands walking down the street, and we're not going to get gay hated.
Gay hated?
Yep. So, but
Gated.
Gated.
Oh, that was it. That was. We should get a shirt. Gated. But anyway, yeah, we went to this coffee shop that we stay at this place called The Charm, which is like a gay-owned bed and breakfast, which
Super
I feel like they're all gay-owned there. But
oh yeah,
it's right off of like the main. What does that mean?
Commercial.
Commercial. And there's a coffee shop that we go to, and we were sitting, and this like older gay bear couple, super cute. We're sitting there with their dog, and so we like struck up a conversation about the dogs, which that's I guess what you do.
Yeah,
normal people do, and so we did. And then they just started talking to us. So we sat there for 4 hours.
It was a long time.
That's wild.
Like we got another coffee.
And then you had a foursome.
Absolutely not. No. I'm sure they would have wanted to, but no, thank you. But Bran, why don't you tell I told it last night to somebody, and it was cringe. And now you.
Well, it wasn't anything crazy. We were just talking about in the gay culture. It's not very monogamous. There's a lot of just sex happening.
There's sex happening
all the time.
There's a lot of
And
open relationships.
We were talking about. They asked us if we ever went on a gay cruise, which we have not, because gay cruises are very specific in what the reasons why you go to a gay cruise is.
Everyone is feckin'.
Yep. And so they were talking about their experience and how that there was one night they were going to be going to meet somebody, and for like throughout the day they were like, "Are we still meeting?" Yes, whatever. One of them though was not feeling well and like getting sick out of both ends.
Oh,
like very like drastically
not
sick.
The time to do that.
So they kept on being like, "It'll get better. We'll be fine. We'll be able to do it." And then like up until the moment before.
Which pause for a second. Could you imagine? Like that he was like, yeah, I'm a little bit better. And then he goes to do all that. And like you're sleeping with somebody who was just
shitting and throwing up.
Yeah, I just feel like that's like not a last minute game time decision. That's actually something that like even the day before, like you should give yourself like a couple days at least.
Yeah, like everything needs to be like thoroughly cleansed. Yeah. Like that was my first thought. Like, ew. But
and so he decided not to go, but the other one did. And he like went out, had fun that night, whatever, came back, and his husband, I guess, was still sick. And I like, was it like the next day or that day or something? They're like, let's just go to the infirmary on the ship and just see. Well, then he tested positive for Giardia. Do you know what Giardia is?
No.
So according to Google right now, Giardia is a microscopic single-celled parasite that lives in the intestines of a human and animals that and causes bowel infections called giarditis.
So let's pause for a second. Can you imagine how he would get Giardia? We'll explain it. Keep going.
So at first he was trying to say he got Giardia from these specific things, but it just turns out that one of the biggest ways to get Giardia is by eating a dirty butthole.
Okay, that's what I was going to guess, but I needed you to say it.
So he was...
I needed you to say it.
He was tongue deep in some man's booty hole.
Deep.
I really love and admire that you guys just met these people and they just like disclosed?
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
their whole life to
and
you.
It was more than that. Like they're
like, here's all of our deepest, darkest secrets.
Like they were talking about them going to prison.
What?
Yep. Yeah, there was
Going
And they're like,
to
and then we
circuit
murdered
parties.
someone together. And
We're
you're like,
like,
oh,
will you be on
taking
my
notes.
podcast?
You're going to be on my podcast.
it was awesome. Actually, it was fun to like hear and talk about that. We didn't divulge shit because
yeah, right.
we were like,
the
we're
whole
so
time you're just
PC.
like
No,
asking questions.
like I'm
and-
like our life is so vanilla. Like I don't do drugs. We're in a monogamous relationship. We
I'm sure your life is peaceful.
it's not.
You're not getting giardia.
We're not.
So we're not doing those sorts of things. But they educated us a lot. They were like, "Have you heard of the dick doc?" And I was like, "What?"
The
No.
dick dog.
And apparently there is a specific area in Provincetown where you go under the docks to just go
Have
get a lot of
time.
dick.
Have fun.
I mean, slay.
Right.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, great. Yeah.
Wait, so you said
know
this was
that.
a bear couple.
hmm They're like us if we were in our, they were probably in their 60s,
Like
50s, 60s.
Bigger, bearded.
Okay.
Yeah.
hairy.
Bigger. Do you not know what a bear is?
No, I do. I
Oh.
just wanted to know what you guys would qualify yourself as, what you just said.
Oh, we're that.
You're
Oh,
bears.
for sure. We're fat.
We're
So-
I'm
fat.
just kidding. We've been losing some weight, though.
Have we?
We have.
Brandon
Wait, but
has.
what
You
is
have
it?
to,
It's,
shut up.
It's bears.
There's
What are the
bears.
other animals?
Otters are so bears are basically us. Otters would be us if we were in our 20s and yeah, probably
A
maybe
little more fit,
a
maybe.
little bit
Wait,
more
that's
fit.
so cute. An
I know.
otter.
An
Uh-huh.
otters are hot.
There's twinks.
There's twinks.
That's not an animal. though.
Your face.
Twinks are like
You're like turned off by twinks.
yeah, I'm not,
They're like
no.
children.
Sorry to all the twinks
Yeah.
listening.
Bless your heart. No, twinks are like skinny, young looking.
Okay. Yeah.
Hairless.
I know what a twink is.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't even know what else. Butch Queen. No,
I mean, there's
Was
more.
Butch Queen something. What is that?
I mean,
That
that's
sounds
like
like a
a.
lesbian.
Oh no, that's a butch queen is a butch. It's a gay guy that I think is really kind of big, and muscular, and like whatever. And then they talk, and you're like, oh, like they're
well, there's
really
muscle
queeny.
queens.
Okay.
What's a
as
butch
well.
queen then?
I don't
Fuck,
know.
I don't even know our terms.
There's just a lot, and they change.
Yeah, and they change, and there's even more like a silver fox or a zaddy. Like there's just there's just too much, and I don't know them all. So
Okay. Well,
Um,
otter is new to me. So.
otters, and you'll know an otter where you're like, ooh. Damn.
Ooh. Okay.
But yeah. Yeah, anyway, so Provincetown, that was kind of fun. We saw Billy Eichner there.
Wow.
He was walking around like
What
he
would you
owned the
qualify
city.
Billy Eichner as?
Annoying.
Okay.
He would
Yeah.
probably be a bear, I think.
I don't know. There's
don't
sometimes
know.
I'm like, I
He's-
don't know.
He's really fucking tall.
It's not like he was big
yeah.
dude.
Like, but I don't love it when people are like strutting around acting like their shit doesn't stink, and that was
Well, that's. I mean, of
That's
course,
what he was
that's-
doing down
That's his whole.
commercial.
That's
Yeah.
his whole shtick.
Yeah.
I know, which I don't enjoy it. I know he's like people really do, but I think it's annoying. So,
Yeah.
but good for him. So we did see him there. Do we see anybody else there? I feel like we did.
I mean, just a bunch
Just
of drag
drag
queens.
queens. Like from RuPaul.
Mm,
So
that's fun.
that was interesting.
You saw some people you follow on Twitter.
I did see some porn people I follow on Twitter. Yep. And I
Oh.
was like, wow, I've seen your dick.
I love that.
I was like, Brandon, I think that's, yep. And then I would
And
show him
he's
and he's like, oh,
Here they are.
that's his wiener if you're interested. So that was interesting. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, Provincetown. That was pretty
You should
fun.
go. It's fun. It's a cute little city.
You should go. It is. We're acting like there's
Town.
like sex happening everywhere, but it's actually not. It's hidden
No, it sounds beautiful.
in the dunes.
That's how it is in New York City too.
100%. Yeah. It's gorge. Anyway, that's it. Any other news?
I don't think
Happenings? Exciting things?
there's always things happening.
plugs.
Plugs.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Anything else happening?
Before we get too deep into the episode, we could plug a review and subscribe to our channel.
Oh, yeah. I just gave up on that. So that's a great one. Brandon, why don't you do
I
it?
just
I don't know.
gave up.
What's the usual spiel? You usually do it. If you haven't yet, please go and rate us on Apple, Spotify. Give us 5 stars, nothing less.
Mm-hmm.
And subscribe to our YouTube, all the fun things.
And if you don't, we're gonna break into your house and eat your toes.
Sure.
I just feel like people need to be threatened.
I agree. What was the one that you said before that was so funny?
Slap my ass.
Slap my ass like a drum.
God damn it, that was so funny. Or I guess, okay, one more plug. Go register to vote, vote.org.
yes.
Check your voter registration status. Go vote. Go vote blue. And then what? What was it again? Slap your ass?
And then slap my ass like a drum.
Yeah. So,
AKA leave a rating and review.
so you heard Anna. It came from Anna. All right. Well, I guess let's dive into this episode. Jesus.
Yeah.
Christ.
You go first this time.
Hammer time. Oh, I go first?
Yeah.
Oh,
I went first last time.
okay. Wait, is this episode 24?
Mm-hmm.
Did you know I looked up a status before we dive in?
Status?
That most podcasts don't make it to episode 25.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
And-
Most podcasts don't make it to episode like 10,
Damn.
honestly.
Well, and realistically, there was times where we're like, are we going to get back to doing an episode?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a
They're
lot
wild.
of work.
It is
It
a lot.
is
of
a lot of work. And all you people listening who get annoyed if we stop, too bad, because it's a lot.
Yeah, we have to
You try it.
Yeah, and if you don't want us to stop, then subscribe, buy some swag, and support and share. Thanks. Yes, okay, guys. My title is, outside of our title of Hammer Time, is Jesus, man. Maybe we don't want to have kids.
Oh. Wait, is yours about a child who killed their parents?
Yes.
Mine is too.
What?
I mean, if you think about it, hammers are like the only thing they really have access to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so lock up your hammers now.
Ooh.
Like, get a tool shed that locks and hide the key. I don't know. So it was 1:15 p.m. on July 16th, 2011, when a 17-year-old boy living in Port St. Lucie, Florida,
Gross.
posted a message to his Facebook feed stating, "Party at my crib tonight, maybe." Several hours later, as the sun set to the west, a new message appeared, "Party at my house, HMU." I don't know what HMU means.
Hit me up.
Okay. I just showed my age.
You did.
Cool.
You just needed a younger human. to tell
Shortly
you.
after, a friend asked, "What if your parents come home?" A simple response followed. "They won't. Trust me." Only that simple response wasn't so simple.
Dun, dun, dun.
That was my creative
Wasn't so
writing.
simple.
at
That was
play.
really
You're
cool.
welcome.
That was my
Thank you.
creative.
Thank you.
That could be on a Dateline episode.
Thank you. Dateline.
Only that simple
They would
response.
never. I'm too.
Wasn't
Yeah,
so
they,
simple.
no, they're like, you are too eccentric. Okay. So this is the story of Tyler Hadley, a 17-year-old kid who brutally murdered his parents with the claw end of a hammer, then threw a house party as their dead bodies lay near in a bedroom, the hammer sitting between them.
Oh.
Okay. So I pulled my information from allthat'sinteresting.com, Rolling Stone, which, by the way, had a very good article on this, Wikipedia, TC Palm, and TC Palm. Two different links. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, so I just mentioned the Rolling Stone article. So it was such a good article, and it dove like into the area of Port St. Lucie where this happened and Tyler's parents. But I found that there were a few interesting things about his parents specifically. Obviously, Tyler has all of his own shit, but I'm like, his poor parents. So I dive into them just a little bit for what I can find. So his parents' names were Blake and Mary Jo Hadley. They moved to Port St. Lucie from Fort Lauderdale in 1987 to be closer to Blake's parents after they retired. They retired in Stewart, which is not that far
No.
from Port St. Lucie. So it's like up the coast, right?
Yeah.
So Blake was a watch engineer at the St. Lucie nuclear power plant, which I didn't know there was a nuclear power plant there.
Neither.
He was there for 30 years. So he was like,
Long time.
yeah, dedicated. Mary Jo, his mom, was an elementary school teacher,
Oh.
and she looked like one, like in a good way, not in like a, you know how there's elementary school teachers where you're like, ooh. But then you have the ones where you're like, oh, mama.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was her.
Oh, mama.
Yeah. Oh, mama.
Oh, mama.
I didn't have a mom, so I just assumed that.
You're like, oh, these are all my mamas.
All of my elementary school teachers were my moms.
Sad.
And two of them were lesbians, I think. Yeah. Yeah. Miss, I don't remember their names now.
Oh, I don't remember.
But they were big
anybody
butchy
from-
lesbians. Anyway, where was I at? Okay, elementary school teacher. So Blake and Mary Jo had two kids, Tyler and his older brother, Ryan, who had just moved to North Carolina just 6 weeks earlier to attend college when this all happened. So the couple had two dogs, a black lab named Sophie and an old, partially deaf and blind beagle.
Oh.
No name. Not sure why I couldn't find a name. All right, let's talk about Tyler, but not, this is like leading up to what he was. So this is like all these interviews of people being like, oh my God, kind of thing. So Tyler always seemed really close to his parents in general. He was described as withdrawn, keeping to himself, but also super loving. He did suffer from anxiety, depression, low self-esteem, and bulimia. Yeah, he was quiet.
It's interesting. You don't hear many men.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Eating
Yeah.
disorders.
He suffered from, I already said that. He was quiet and difficult to read, but seemed polite and respectful. As a kid, Tyler would wait up late into the evenings for his dad to get home from working the night shift at the power plant. Him and his dad were pretty close. They played basketball for hours in the driveway, sometimes until midnight, and their weekends were spent splashing and laughing in the family's backyard pool. So by age 10, Tyler was being treated with various medications for things like acne, depression, growth hormones, and a thyroid condition at 10.
Oh.
So once Tyler entered high school, things changed drastically. Tyler would often quit his sports, hobbies, projects, like learning to play the drums and the trombone. And not too long after starting, he'd quit, and then he would say he wasn't good enough and felt a step below everyone else. He became eccentric, unpredictable, and very troubled. People said he had a bizarre personality and became really hyper. So by the age 13, he was a pretty big troublemaker. He was defacing public bathrooms with Sharpies, shoe painting people's cars. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, what's shoe
I have
painting?
no idea.
Shoe painting? Is
Did
he
you
like,
look it up?
no. Is he putting shoe prints on cars?
Shoe painting. What is that? I'm just getting pictures of people painting shoes.
That doesn't seem bad.
But if you're shoe painting a car, what does Google say? It just says cars painted
Painting
shoes.
on cars. All right.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. So that's what he was doing.
Okay.
If you know what shoe painting people's cars means, let us know. He's also breaking windows and things in people's yards. He was stealing people's Christmas lights, and they began setting small fires. So he was the type of person who would always try to pull a crowd. And in the middle of a lesson during class at school, he would just start laughing loudly, or just blurt stuff out really loudly. He even once in the middle of a biology class just started mooing loudly like a cow.
Oh my God.
Now, I did go to high school with a few little stupid fucks like this, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
And they just wanted attention.
Like,
and I
it
was
sounds so weird, but it happens all the time. I
Totally.
can't imagine being a teacher.
No.
no,
being like,
I would never be one.
Oh, I have
especially
to have
boys.
empathy for you.
That's why they
They're
need to be
so-
making
such
way more
douche.
money, because kids are horrible.
Yeah.
Anyway, he also started smoking at 13. He and some other boys lit the River Park Wildlife Preserve on fire. They dragged an abandoned couch into a clearing, doused it with gas, and then lit it on fire. They did it to have fun. Cute.
So fun.
So he also at the same time began skipping school, started taking drugs and drinking. He smoked pot, started taking Xanax, Percocet, Oxy, ecstasy, and hallucinogenic DMT. No clue what that is, but he had it. And it's Florida.
Sounds like fun.
So-
I mean, Florida is where people were like eating people's faces from doing bath
Yeah.
salts. Like, oof,
God, do you remember that when we
Yeah.
saw that?
it's
I think we were
terrifying.
in Europe, and I was like, let's not go back.
I know.
The
What's
zombie
happening?
apocalypse is here. All right. So his parents obviously were really concerned about him. So they worried about him for many years. They took him to a psychiatrist and even turned to a substance abuse program for help, but nothing worked. So one day, Tyler drove home drunk. His mom, Mary Jo, took his car and phone as a punishment. And this got him so angry that he actually told his friend Michael Mandel that he wanted to kill his mom. And there's a lot more like with that kind of stuff. So let's dive into the murders. So it was July 16th of 2011, and that's when Tyler made his plan. He started by taking his parents' phones because without their phones, they couldn't call for help.
Oh, so this is like premeditated.
Oh, yeah. And years before, and he was 17. So, all right. After he did that, he took 3 pills of ecstasy around 5 p.m. because he worried that he couldn't kill his parents while he was sober.
Or maybe just don't kill them.
Yeah.
So he
That's something
then put on the song by Little Bussy? Boise?
Little Bussy?
You say
Little
Bussy?
Bussy?
Was it Little Bussy?
I have no idea.
Busey.
I don't know.
I said that as a joke.
There's a song called Feel Lucky by a rapper called Lil. It looks like Bussy, but it's not.
It's Boosie.
Boo boo.
As
Is that
like
what it is?
Boosie.
Bussy. Little Bussy.
I just said
Boosie.
Bussy, which is
Bussy.
look
Up.
it up.
Look it up.
But he put that song on to get hyped up. Ugh. So Tyler then went out to the garage, found a claw hammer, went into the home, and then stood behind his mom while she sat at her computer for a full 5 minutes, just staring at her.
Oh my God, that's terrifying.
He then all of a sudden swung and hit his mom on the top of her head. She then turned and screamed, "Why?" And he kept beating her. So,
oh my God.
That's probably like the worst.
Yeah. Because of her screams, his dad heard and ran into the room. And he was like a big dude. He was 6'1", 300 pounds. And he looked at Tyler and asked him why. Tyler then shouted back, "Why the fuck not?" Then beat his father to death, as he repeated the question, "Why the fuck not?" After killing his parents, Tyler wrapped towels around his parents' heads and then dragged their bodies into the bedroom. This was 2011, y'all.
Brandon's disassociating.
I know, it's rough. So, dragged their bodies into their own bedroom. So then he laid them both next to each other with the hammer on the ground in between them. He then went around cleaning up the crime scene because obviously that was quite a scene. It took him 3 hours. And then what he did was he ended up taking everything that had something on it, all evidence, and he put it all into their bedroom, burying their bodies below broken dishes, shattered glass, bloody towels, pillowcases, books, a coffee table, sponge mop, Clorox wipes, and a canister of ground coffee.
Ugh.
We can't forget the coffee.
That's so random.
Yeah. He then took a shower, telling his friend that he stood in the bathroom mirror and laughed. Okay. So Tyler then went and posted.
I feel like Ann and I both have the same face of like,
I know, you guys.
What?
He
Fuck
just
this kid.
is like completely gone.
I know. This is why I'm like, should we have kids?
I do think about this when we talk about having children.
I think
I'm like,
what
but
if
they could kill us.
No, literally. Or they like
us?
kill
Yeah.
other people. Like
Yeah.
if you just like happen to have a kid that is a psychopath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
I know. And listen, we got some mental health issues in my biological family.
Well,
so I'm
that's
like,
for sure.
I don't know. Anyway, he then posted about the house party. Come to HMU.
Yeah, my parents won't be there, but they technically are here.
Correct. And Rolling Stone did such a great job on this article that there are conversations and texts between, and I did not put them in here because even his friends were like, like he was telling people he killed his parents. And they were like, do it. Like, just,
Ew.
oh God, kids are gross. So anyway,
And kids in Florida are even worse.
I know. So people started arriving and noticed that Tyler, who was all dressed in all black, was rolling. His eyes were large and white. His pupils expanded, and he kept rubbing his hands together, nervously clenching his fists. Which I guess that's what you do when you're rolling. I don't know. And then he said, when people were arriving, "I don't want no one smoking inside. It's my parents' house." Huh.
Oh.
So eventually,
Please respect
Yes. My
the
dead
parents that I just bludgeoned.
yes, they're dead in their bedroom. But so eventually 100 or so kids were all in the house, which is like, it was not a huge house. And it's a Florida house.
Yeah.
Like, it's not big. But most had no idea who Tyler even was. They just went to the house party, which this was not my high school experience. Or I just wasn't invited. I don't know. Probably that.
Same.
No, I was not a kid that was invited to.
Yeah, I wasn't
like, I
either.
didn't go to these huge fucking house parties. I'm
No.
like, what? I didn't know they were happening. And I was friends with almost everyone, but I wasn't like close.
Yeah, I was
You know?
the same way.
So I guess I just didn't get invited. But apparently there was a big ass house party. So the kids attending took over the house. So we've seen this in movies where you're like, oh my God, they're wrecking the house. That is what they did. So they draped themselves over couches, played beer pong on the dining table, searched for food in the kitchen cupboards, and gathered in packs out in front of the house, tossing empty cans onto the lawn. Glass began to get shattered, which were followed by laughs by the partygoers. Cigarettes were being extinguished on the rug, kitchen counter, and the wall. And eventually, Tyler didn't care much about the destruction of the house. He was just really concerned about the noise. We know why. Yeah. So he's actually quoted as saying that people need to stay in the house and that he doesn't care if they smoke now. You can smoke in the house. Which, is why there were cigarettes being extinguished on a kitchen counter and walls. Like, who are you people? So
Assholes. They're all assholes.
Yeah. People started saying that Tyler killed his parents because remember he was like telling some people, his close friends. So then it was getting
well, and
around.
I'm sure. I mean, not to give any of these kids anything, but I'm sure they were probably like, "Yeah, okay, you're going to kill your parents.
Totally.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
I
Sure.
wouldn't. I'd be like, that's fucking weird.
Yeah, I wouldn't have gone to the
Don't do
house
that.
party because I wouldn't have been invited. So
That too.
doesn't matter. But So people would start saying that he killed his parents, but everyone would laugh and they would dismiss it. But people started asking Tyler, like, where are your parents? And he would respond with, oh, they went to Georgia. They went to, or they're in Orlando. And then he was like, well, they don't live here. This is my house. So eventually, Tyler's best friend, Mark, was leaving the party when Tyler asked to speak to him privately. So during this conversation, Tyler told Mark that he killed someone and was afraid to go to jail. And there's like a whole chain of their conversation. But eventually, Mark told him that killing somebody was like his own business and don't tell me, I don't need to know. And then he
hey,
left.
keep that to yourself.
Yeah, like
God, I
I
hate
don't
people.
I don't need to know that. Like okay. So okay. Around 1 a.m., Tyler then asked his friend Michael Mandel to walk outside so they could speak. So I guess it didn't work with Mark, so he's going to use Michael now. So he admitted killing his parents, eventually showing that his parents' cars were actually in the driveway. And Michael's like, oh. So then Tyler took Michael into his parents' garage, and when Michael went in, he saw a big bloody shoe print and immediately shut the door. And he's like, ooh. So Tyler then took Michael to the master bedroom.
No.
The primary bedroom, where there were traces of blood on the door. Tyler unlocked the door and opened it.
I'd be like, I'm good. Like, no, I don't want to.
Which is when Michael saw the dining room chairs and the blood-soaked towels stacked in a huge pile. There's pictures of this online. At the bottom of the pile, sticking out of the debris, was a thick white leg. Tyler then told Michael everything that happened, the play-by-play, which is how we know and how I could share with you what he did. So super shocked. Michael didn't leave. Michael was super shocked, but he didn't leave the party immediately. He actually stayed for another 45 minutes, even posing for selfies with Tyler.
What the fuck?
Michael.
Who are these people?
Like, I don't want to be in a house where there's like dead bodies just in the next room.
No.
Yeah, and he knew. So around 2 a.m., the kids headed to another party, loudly peeling their cars as they drove off, turning on their music, like very Florida. And that was the final straw for the neighbors because they saw all the teenagers. They saw them peering in their own windows at their house.
Ew.
All the noise. And they were like, Tyler's parents would never allow this to happen. And he grew up there and these neighbors knew him. So they called the police. So 2 officers from the Port St. Lucie Police Department arrived at the house within minutes. But at that point, there were fewer than 20 people left at the party, and they rang the doorbell. So Tyler then told everyone to go hide in his room and be quiet. He then answered the door and spoke to the cops. And they were like, okay, noise complaint, be quiet. And then they left, and the party started back up. So by 4:40 a.m., Tyler posted to Facebook, party at my house again, HMU, for the next night. Because he's like, loved this, gonna party again. Again, conversations that he was having with people via text and whatever. So what's interesting, though, is that the police had come back and they were already at his door when he posted that to Facebook. And because his friend Michael, who remember stayed for 45 minutes, actually left and called Crime Stoppers hotline and told them everything. So, like, thank you for doing that, but also,
like, that should, like, if that was me, that would be a
I'd have been like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
I mean, I would have
leave.
run
911.
away the second he said anything about killing his parents.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't know if they thought that it was like a joke or something, but like
Yeah.
as soon as you see a drop of blood,
Yeah.
Like, something's
I would
wrong.
literally be running.
Yes.
I would be like,
Everybody get the fuck out of the house. This guy just killed his parents.
no, I mean, like, I would be like, okay, so you're obviously like a fucking crazy person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna appease you enough to like back away
Yeah.
and be like, I'll see you tomorrow.
And maybe that's
and
what he
then
was
call the fucking
doing.
cops.
Maybe that's what he was doing in his own version to be like, well, just stay for another 45 minutes.
Yeah,
I mean, I
probably.
don't know. But
Yeah.
even taking a selfie with it.
Yeah, very weird.
So, all right. Arrest and there wasn't really a trial, but arrests. So officers Adam Zamowski and Charles Green were dispatched to 371 Northeast Grandeur Avenue at 4:32 a.m. So again, they were like right there when he posted. So as the officers walked up the driveway, they heard someone talking inside of the house. Tyler was walking back and forth, pacing across the living room, talking to himself with a very disturbing look on his face. His eyes were very wide and he was not blinking. So Tyler grabbed a stack of books from a bookshelf near the front door and marched them into the back bedroom. After saying something unintelligible, he dropped the books on the floor in a frantic manner. And then Tyler repeated this twice more, returning for a second and a third stack of books. he must have been just like getting books and throwing them more into the bedroom. It's really weird, but
He's like, if I put enough shit,
They won't see.
no one will know. So the officers finally knocked on the front door and rang the doorbell, but there was no answer initially. But then Tyler did eventually open the door. He looked like he had a weapon in his hand, or he was like hiding a hand. So they ordered him to put his hands up and step outside of the house. The officers checked him for weapons and then ordered him to the ground and handcuffed him. They asked if there were any adults home. Tyler said no, but he seemed really frantic, incoherent, and annoyed. His pupils were very large. He was still rolling.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure he took way more drugs.
Oh,
during the night.
probably.
So, and then he said, I know I'm going to Rock Road. He told the officer, referring to the address of the St. Lucie County Jail. So just take me, he said. So they left him. This is weird, but I read that they left him shackled in the driveway. And then the officers left him to enter the house, which seems not right because he would like run away.
Right.
yeah.
Like, we're just stay here. Like, no. So they must put him in the car or something. But they went into the house. And then Tyler was like shouting at them to like, don't go in there. You don't want to go in there kind of thing. So this was kind of the scene. Empty beer bottles and red plastic solo cups were everywhere on the counters and floors. There were pots and pans on the kitchen counter. Tyler's bedroom floor was littered with unraveled cigars. On his bed were about 15 empty beer bottles and a woman's purse. The furniture in the brothers' old bedroom was turned over and the floor was covered with clothing and bedding. Remember, they had 2 dogs. Locked inside a closet, they found the family's black lab.
Oh.
Was he murdered too?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. It didn't say that. I feel like they would have put that in there.
Yeah.
And
He's traumatized for life.
So the cops passed through the kitchen and approached the master bedroom. It was locked. They did notice the streaks of dried blood on the frame and baseboards. They forced the knob. The door opened. And then obviously you know what they found. So on the morning after the party, the news of Tyler's arrest spread rapidly among the teenagers who attended the party. And they all were surprised. Some knew. All that kind of shit. And they mostly the response was, whoa, we partied with 2 dead bodies. So I guess Florida's just producing a whole bunch of killers. So love that. So here's a little bit about, I guess, the motive. So Tyler thought killing his parents would solve all of his problems and bring him relief.
Because that's how that
logical.
happens.
Yeah. And he was quoted as saying, I was probably mad about getting in trouble and everything that was going on. The murderous thoughts started a little bit, but increased.
Increased.
In frequency, increased. And then they became an obsession that he couldn't get out of his mind. And then he said it was pretty intense. I thought about it every day.
Jesus.
And then he said, in the movie in my head, he said that he planned to kill his parents and then back up the car into the garage and kill himself by carbon monoxide poisoning.
Okay, then why didn't
Just
he do that?
skip to killing
Right?
yourself. Like,
Yeah,
what?
That's it. So his conviction, what is long
Conviction.
So he pleaded no contest to 2 counts of first-degree murder and was sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. But since he was a minor in the state of Florida, this is across I think that the death penalty for minors went away in 2005, I think is what it was for the U.S., but he couldn't be sentenced to death because of that. So, and that was it. Like, it was pretty quick as far as like everything went down. But in 2016, Tyler won an appeal that threw out his 2 life terms and sent the case back for resentencing because there was something something in law about minors. I don't know. So he was able to do that. But in 2018, he was resentenced to 2 life terms in prison.
Okay, good.
So it didn't really matter. But interestingly enough, he wasn't well behaved in the Okeechobee Correctional Institution.
Oh, really? A murderer wasn't well behaved?
Yeah. He
No surprise.
smoked pot in prison. So, but we've all heard that like you can get anything in prison.
Yeah.
which
It's
is
just so crazy.
interesting. And he was caught with makeshift shivs and refused to participate in disciplinary hearings. So he was a great kid.
It sounds
Tyler has, however, expressed sorrow for killing his parents, saying like words cannot explain the amount of remorse and sorrow over my actions that have affected so many people, but most of all my family, who I still care about greatly. Even his uncle was like, "No, put him away." But he said, "In the past, I have lied and tried to manipulate. I lost the trust of those closest to me. I made the blah 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 blah." I'm not going to read it because I don't care.
I don't think they really care about your lying.
Yeah. And here's why I don't really care too much. I don't feel like he's really remorseful, but He did say that he forgave Michael Mandel for turning him in and preventing him from dying by suicide. But he did point out, I'm in jail because of you.
Okay.
No, bitch, you're in jail because of you.
You're in jail because you killed your parents, you
Right.
fucking piece of shit.
That's why you're there.
obviously not
Stupid
taking
ass.
any accountability.
Thank you, Michael. You should have not waited 45 minutes and taken selfies, but you did eventually do the right thing.
Honestly, imagine your best friend coming to you and being like, yeah, I just killed my whole family.
I mean,
And you're like,
What?
Whoa.
oh,
like this,
goodness.
like,
yeah.
my judgment must be really poor
Right.
if I like decided to be your best friend.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah. Here's some interesting info. The deaf and blind beagle was found hiding in the bedroom that belonged to Tyler's older brother.
Oh.
Because obviously both dogs were probably freaked.
They were
the fuck
probably
out.
terrified.
Yeah.
And Tyler had considered taking his life that night. He had a stash of Percocet pills hidden in his room that he was, I guess, going to like down. So Mark Andrews, who was the one from earlier, met Tyler like 11 years prior when the family moved to Port St. Lucie. Tyler and Mark's younger brothers were friends, and the families lived down the street from each other. When Tyler was 10 years old, he showed up to Andrews' house after a fight with his mother, and he then vowed that he would kill his parents. So this motherfucker was
He was
That's
wanting
wild.
their parents
For a long
gone for
time.
a while. Mark told Tyler that all parents, would piss off their kids and to calm down, and they laughed about it. So Tyler's friend Marky Phillips missed the party that night because he was visiting his grandparents in Chicago that weekend. But he had hung out with Tyler 2 nights earlier playing video games and watching television. And Tyler seemed fine that night. But 2 weeks before that, they had been hanging out at Marky's house when Tyler blurted out in the middle of a conversation that he wanted to kill his parents and have a big party after.
Well, he
And
did.
he said nobody had done that before. Throw a big party with the body still in the house.
Ew, that's gross. But how would you know that?
Motherfucking crazy. Yeah, he is crazy. So, while in jail, awaiting sentencing, Tyler had spent his time signing autographs for fellow inmates. He would take a news article about the murder and write, "It's hammer time," across the article and sign with his self-proclaimed nickname, Hammer Boy. Tyler's choice of murder weapon gave fellow inmates a host of nicknames for him, including Ham, Hammer, Hambo, Hadley, Hambo, Bam Bam.
Bam, bam.
Ew.
And
How fucking
the
gross.
Hammer Time murder attraction, the Hammer Time murder attracted national attention mostly because of the party that happened afterwards. And lastly, in April of 2015, that house was demolished.
Good.
So,
Well, that's sad.
yeah, how weird that it tied into that Hammer Time.
Right?
Yeah.
I know, which is like
Ew,
gross.
I feel
And
like I
sitting
remember
there
hearing
signing
about this one.
autographs. Fuck off.
I'm pretty sure I know somebody who is from Port St. Lucie
Ew.
and would have been
At the party.
2011. No, I guess she would be older than that. She'd be older than them, so maybe not. But I'm like, partially like, I wonder if she knew.
I mean, you never know.
That's crazy.
It's fucked up. Yeah.
So fucked up.
This kid is gross. I mean, and luckily, he killed his own parents, but at least he's not out in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows what he would have become,
Yeah, exactly.
because clearly there was some shit going on.
Well, when you first said that, like, him and his friends, like, he was texting his friends or whatever, and his friends were like, yeah, kill your parents, blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah. I was thinking, like, okay, little teenage stupid boys, I can see, like,
100%.
joking
Totally,
around and
totally.
being like,
Yeah.
Yeah, bro,
kill
do
your
it.
parents, bro.
Yeah.
But if you're having a conversation with your friend and out of nowhere in the middle of the conversation, like unprompted, they're like, I want to kill my parents. That's not a joke.
No.
That's like
No,
very clearly
it's
not a joke.
Not, yeah. And that's never happened to me. So I don't
No.
like, I don't know.
Like for someone to just unprompted say
Yeah.
something that violent,
It's like, you all right?
like, oh, we're not,
Yeah. And
this isn't just like a gab.
the messages, so that's article, the Rolling Stone article, like goes into a lot of those conversations and text chains and stuff
Yep.
like that. They're bad. Like they're
Ugh.
like, he is not great. And here's the thing, and this is something I was gonna like put in here, but a lot of these friends of his would go back and forth and be like, yeah, man, whatever their conversations were, but they were saying always one thing, and it weighs.
Anyways.
Why is this happening to me? And it was a racist term that starts with an N, which I'm sure
Oh.
we can all think.
Mhm.
White people don't say that as a term of endearment to each other.
No.
Because it's not. So, my phone's ringing.
We're
and
at
I'm not answering it.
29.
So anyway, that's my episode. Thank you so much. Brandon, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready to dive right in.
Okay, great.
All right. So on August 12th, 2004, 18-year-old Brian Blackwell and his girlfriend, Amal Saba, returned home to West Lancashire, UK, from their recent lavish trip around the world to New York City.
Oh, where we are right now.
Yes. Once they returned, it was pretty quick when Brian realized he was locked out of his home, and his parents, Sydney and Jacqueline Blackwell, were still on holiday on the small Spanish island of Majorca, as they often did. He was lucky to be able to stay with Amal and her family until his parents came home a few weeks later. Knowing that Sydney and Jacqueline were on vacation, a neighbor stopped by their house to deliver a letter to them to receive when they got back. Because, in the UK, they all have like the door slots on the door for the letters. Once arriving to the house, this neighbor was instantly, I don't know why you use the word befuddled, but they were instantly befuddled by a strong odor coming from the home and a swarm of flies they could see as they peered into the windows.
But what does befuddled mean?
Like
Confused.
I've never heard of befuddled.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, how do you say that in British?
Befuddled.
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 Stupid.
That was really good, actually.
Right. So with no answer to the front door, this neighbor decided that something didn't feel right and decided to call the police. So arriving at the Blackwell residence, she did the right thing. Like something was weird and she called the police.
Stay for 45 minutes and pose with the selfie.
Yeah.
With the doors flat.
That'll do it.
Flat.
So arriving at the Blackwell residence, the police immediately knew something was wrong, but no one was ready for what they were about to see. Entering the house, the odor only increased. As police scoured the home, it was pretty quick when they saw the decomposing body of Sydney sitting in an armchair in the living room, still holding his glasses. As the officers continued through the home, they found the body of Jacqueline laying face down, which appeared to have been drugged to the bathroom from the living room. At first investigation appeared that they had both died from gunshot wounds. However, that was not the case. The bodies were in such advanced state of decomposition that it appeared to be gun wounds, and during the autopsy, the examiners were able to determine that the bodies had been there for roughly 6 weeks. Would love everyone to ask, who killed the Blackwells?
Oh, that sounds like a documentary.
Yeah.
Who killed the Blackwells? Now on Netflix. Oh, that would be, actually, y'all should do this.
Right. That should have been my title. Who killed the Blackwells, though?
Oh, but right? Doesn't that sound like it would be
It
like
does.
You're welcome. Well, jumping back to 1960.
Brandon has, period.
Well, don't judge my writing.
I'm sorry.
Well.
Okay.
I need to tell myself how to speak. Anyways, jumping back to 1960, Sydney, also known as Big Brian, I'm not too sure why, but that was his nickname.
Sounds like Big Daddy.
And Jacqueline met and fell in love once again as this was both their second marriage. Despite being slightly older, they welcomed their only child together, Brian, when Sydney was 54 and Jacqueline was 43.
Whoa.
Yeah, they were older. So before the couple met...
Wait, she had a child at 54?
43. He was 54.
He was 54. She was 43.
Yeah.
Even 43 is...
It's older, yeah.
Yeah.
That would be a geriatric pregnancy. It's such a shitty term.
Such a shitty term. Yeah.
So before the couple met, Sydney was an accountant and had 2 children with his first wife, and Jacqueline was an antiques dealer with no other children.
God, that sounds very British.
Right. As a child, Brian was known as a pretty normal child. He was well-mannered, intelligent, and an overall pleasant person. Some would say he was a bit of a loner and had a hard time making friends, though. Brian was also really smart and excelled at school, and his grades showed for it. Many of his friends and classmates and his parents, I believe, nicknamed him the Brain, and eventually started to show interest into becoming a doctor. As Brian grew older, he started to become more extroverted, and many believed he was even a bit cocky, as he would show off a lot and brag about himself often.
Ugh.
Yeah. From what I read, it sounded like he started to turn into kind of a douche, because he started to make a lot of white lies, like that he was better at things than he really was for attention. For example, he would often hype up how well he played tennis to make himself look better than he actually was. Eventually, his lying started to get worse, and he was really good at it to the point that most people believed everything that he was saying, and many now relate him to be a pathological liar. one person who believed his lies was 17-year-old Amal. The two hit it off at Liverpool College, where they were studying for their A-levels, which for us Americans who's listening, I didn't know what an A-level was, so I just wanted to look it up. So according to Google, A-levels or advanced level qualifications are a set of exams taken in the UK and some other countries. A-levels are typically studied over a 2-year period, and they are considered a key qualification for entry into higher education institutions such as universities. So I also Googled what's the US equivalent to the A-levels. So the
SATs and
no. So the A level is generally considered to be equivalent to the U.S. Advanced Placement Program, the AP program, or the International Baccalaureate Program, the IB program. So it's more like like the AP program was like classes that you program. Take. So it's essentially more like a class than like the SATs.
I did that in high school. Yeah. Okay.
So as the two started dating, Brian would tell Amal that he was not only good at tennis, but that he was a professional player. He told her that he even had a sponsorship deal with Nike that was worth about £70,000.
Wow.
And a spot playing in the French Open.
Love that. Show me the proof.
Give me
As
receipts.
soon as someone says something like that, I'm like, okay, receipts. Like,
yeah,
what?
right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Show me that.
So, and it's even said that at one point he asked Amal to be his manager, and he would pay her £82,500 a year with an additional 10% commission and a bonus of $20,000, and an expense account. He then started to write her a check for £39,000 for 3 months worth of wages, money he did not have. So the check undoubtedly bounced.
Undoubtedly.
So when it did, thinking on his feet, he decided to go to the bank where he knew his parents' investment accounts were waiting for him for his schooling, and he withdrew £9,000. Now, normally it doesn't sound like something that a bank would just do, but he told them the story that his dad had died and that he needed the money for a car, in which the bank decided to give him the £9,000. Yeah, and now he did end up purchasing a car, a new Ford KA. Apparently, I don't think that's a Ford that we have here, but he bought it for Amal. So obviously, it was not too long before Sydney and Jacqueline noticed that the money was missing from the bank account, and they were not too happy. Throughout Brian's life, they were allegedly pretty hard on him. They wanted to see him succeed, but they they really wanted to see him thrive.
As parents,
and they would brag to people that he was destined to become not just a doctor, a surgeon. And a couple of sources did say that they were a bit overprotective of him. So once they found out about the car, they demanded Amal to return it. However, Brian was able to get them to change their minds, promising that he himself would pay them back for the car instead of bringing it back. Jacqueline also went straight to the bank to tell them that they shouldn't have had that happen, and to tell them that Brian was not authorized to take out money from their accounts. Which they shouldn't have been in the first place.
I don't even what bank is this?
I know.
Never bank
I don't
there.
know.
My lord.
Well, so this didn't stop Brian because he was portraying this life of luxury. Yeah. He needed to find other ways to access cash. It is noted that he applied for up to 13 credit cards under his father's name, and in his applications, he would state that he was applying for cards because he needed money to play in the French Open. Yeah. Then on July 24th of 2004, Brian decided to continue his little fraud scheme and purchase 2 first-class tickets for him and Amal for a luxury trip to New York City together. In total, the tickets cost £5,000. And this was for an immediate trip, like a couple days later. So by the next day, Brian started to get ready for his big adventure with Amal. So now the next little bit, there's not a lot of information about what actually happened. It's mostly what we know from Brian's account and what investigators have put together. So I tried to keep it kind of simple and put it together from a few different resources. So at some point during the evening of the 25th, Sydney and Jacqueline found out about the money Brian stole from them to purchase the tickets. Eventually, Brian...
With the credit cards.
They found out that he purchased tickets with their money. It was their actual money. That
it was their actual money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which from when I read it, yeah, they have just found out about it just in general. Okay. So eventually, Brian took a break in packing and came downstairs. In the midst of the discussion, Sydney and Jacqueline started to question Brian, which turned obviously into a heated discussion because duh. At this point, he had stolen a shit ton of money from them, and they were trying to stop him from going on this extravagant holiday, which they knew that they would still end up paying for.
Yeah.
This enraged Brian, and he just happened to be holding a claw hammer in his hand, because I saw one source that he was apparently hanging something on his wall in his bedroom when he heard his parents and he walked down. So without any question, Brian just attacked. Starting with Sydney, while Jacqueline was in the kitchen, he took the hammer and repeatedly hit his father. Hearing the scuffle, Jacqueline came out into the living room holding a carving knife. And I have in here, now again, did she grab the knife out of defense? Was she cooking a roast? I'm not too sure.
Was she cooking a roast?
However, she had a 10-inch carving knife and she ran in to try to stop Brian from attacking Sydney. However, Brian was able to grab the carving knife from his mother and proceeded to stab her with it up to 30 times. Turning to find out how his dad was, he realized he was not dead yet and proceeded to stab him. I even read in my research that he told investigators before his father's died that he stopped, held his hand for a bit, and talked to him for a while, saying that he still loved him.
Ew, you fucking crazy
God.
fuck.
Right? Once finished, Brian washed up and got back to his packing. Eventually finishing, he grabbed his belongings and left to go to a mall, saying that they should spend the night together since they had to wake up early and leave in the morning. Not letting anyone know that his parents' dead bodies were left at the house to rot.
Ooh.
So the next morning, like any other morning, Brian and Amal got their first class tickets to NYC, and starting with a pricey 3-night stay in the presidential suite of the Plaza Hotel.
That ain't cheap.
And it didn't end there. For 17 days, the couple extended their trip, hopped around to Miami, San Francisco, and Barbados, living the high life in luxury the entire time. Of course, it was not on Brian's dime. In total, it is estimated that they spent over 30,000 pounds on this vacation and put it all on his father's credit cards. I did read that Amal would say that Brian was normal the entire time. She said she had no idea anything had happened, and that she had no idea he was lying to her about everything, let alone the murder at that point. So she didn't know that he was lying about the French Open and the tennis and having money and all that. So after their 17-day vacation, they headed back home, and Brian again stayed with Amal. He stayed with her, stating that his parents were on holiday and that he was locked out of the house. And what his plans from there, who knows? Because I didn't read anything about like what he was going to do about anything. But during the waiting period, Brian was excited to find out that he ended up receiving A grades on all of his A levels for math, biology, chemistry, and Spanish. And because of this, he was accepted into the university of his choice.
Like, dude.
Nottingham University to study medicine.
Wow.
Yeah. At this time, people didn't think anything was wrong. Everyone noted that he acted normal around them. He was even boasting about getting into the school he wanted to, and being sad that he hadn't heard from his parents yet, which I thought was interesting. It was like nothing had happened. Once the bodies were discovered, it wasn't too long before the police knew that they needed to bring Brian in for questioning, because obviously they needed to start with the people closest to them. So just 3 days later, on September 8th, the police picked up Brian at Amal's house and brought him into questioning. During the questioning, Brian denied the fact that he had any part in the murder, stating that he was in the U.S. during the time. The police ended up holding him for 2 days, and slowly his story started to change. Eventually, he confessed to the murder, stating that it was in self-defense. However, quickly, he just ended up deciding to admit to the murders, saying that it was a split-second thing and that he couldn't believe what he had done. One of the detectives who questioned Brian, Detective Inspector Geoff Williams, said it was a line of inquiry whether this boy had been pushed too far, but there was nothing to suggest he had been. His mother and father were very ambitious for him, but there was nothing to suggest that they had pushed him down a certain road. It actually seemed he found his exam studies quite easy. So obviously Brian was arrested and put on trial for the murders of his parents. During the 5 months between his arrest and his trial, Brian was brought in to be examined by 5 different psychiatrists. After their research, they all unanimously agreed that Brian had suffered from narcissistic personality disorder.
Yeah.
So he had a disorder that affects how you view yourself and relate to others. Many people with narcissistic personality disorder often lack empathy, disregard others' feelings, and have a large need for admiration. It makes sense why he always wanted to impress his friends and the people around him, and why he would make up so many lies.
Yep.
Brian having this disorder was a big part of the trial for the prosecution. They said that when his parents tried to stop him, his disorder came through and made him enraged, making him angry enough to murder them. During the trial, a letter was read to the jury, written by Brian, which partially read, for every moment of every day, I wish I could turn back the hands of time. I eternally long to be a little boy again at a time when everyone really loved each other, when we could have had a happy time and be a family once more. I miss them more than anything in the world. The guilt will punish and haunt me for 24 hours a day for the rest of my life, which, again, you chose that. The defense also leaned into the mental disorder, having him plead guilty on the grounds of diminished responsibility, which I don't think I really knew was. So I looked it up. So diminished responsibility is a potential defense in which a defendants argue that although they broke the law, they shouldn't be held fully criminally liable for it, as their mental functions were diminished or impaired. So basically they said because of this mental illness, he shouldn't be held liable for murdering his parents. When it came to sentencing, the judge, Mr. Justice Royce, was quoted in saying, "This is an extraordinary case. It is also one of a terrible family tragedy." I said it.
He said it right.
I said it.
Nice.
The circumstances in which you bludgeoned and stabbed to death your father, then your mother, are chilling. You then, with breathtaking callousness, left their bodies to rot while you enjoy a luxurious holiday in America with your girlfriend.
Yeah.
So, taking the diminished responsibility into account, Mr. Justice Royce agreed to the plea and gave him a lesser sentence of life imprisonment on June 29th, 2005. With this sentencing, Brian was also set a minimum tariff of 12 years. So Brian would be eligible for parole only after a minimum of 12 years. Justice Royce also believed that the evidence suggests that it would be very unlikely that he would ever be granted parole because of all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, until 2016, when Brian was granted parole and has been out of prison since.
Shut the
Are you
fuck
kidding
up.
me?
Yeah.
That's insane.
And that's the story of Brian Blackwell, the narcissistic asshole, who is out of prison.
I was not expecting that.
I know. I saw that part at the end. I was like, oh, shit. I did read something, but I couldn't find it in enough sources. But it basically said that he also had to pay a fine that covered the costs of what he stole from his parents as well, which I thought was weird.
With what, his parents' money? Like,
Right, I
what
know.
money?
So
did
I didn't get a lot of information on that point, so I didn't add that fully in here. But yeah, I thought that was interesting.
What the fuck?
Okay, I'm going to say something that might sound ignorant, but like, when I think of diminished responsibility, I don't think that narcissism.
I agree.
I don't think you should be allowed to have
Yeah.
diminished responsibility from narcissism.
No.
When I
completely
think
agree.
of like schizophrenia and things like that, that's more to me, which I guess I am not a therapist. I don't know enough about mental health issues to say any of that, but like, come on.
Yeah. No, it's outrageous.
Those defenses are always like, okay.
Yeah. And he's out. So that's great. So
I am actually still stunned that he is out roaming around.
for what, like 8 years
That's
at this point?
just awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, that one was great storytelling.
There was a lot of similarities between ours, which is
Yeah.
interesting.
There was, yeah. Yeah.
Yours is a little bit more fucked up in the sense that people are like partying in the house. These ones were just rotting for weeks,
That's also
like 6 weeks.
upsetting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, that's really just,
And the image of him like holding his dad and saying "I love you" after
That's fucking
murdering him.
creepy.
Like,
Yeah.
ew.
It's fucking creepy.
oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah, that one was, that was not my favorite.
No.
None of them are my favorite, let's be
No.
honest. Yeah, wow, bub. Wow. Brian, what was his Brian Blackwell?
Blackwell.
And what was that one line again? Because again, this should be something.
Oh, it was
The Blackwell.
who killed the Blackwells?
Who killed the Blackwell?
Which led everyone to ask, who killed the Blackwells?
Dun, dun, dun.
Like, this should be a book. That sounds like it's a book. You know, like after the prologue. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't read a lot.
Just 'cause they have a
I
cool
know.
name.
It's because it's a cool name. Yeah, the Blackwells. Who killed
Yep.
the Blackwells? Wow, that's really interesting, and it's interesting too because both of their kids, but he was a little older.
He was
right?
18. He was a year older.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
And like the bank, why are you giving money to?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make sense. But he was obviously a really good liar,
Yeah.
No,
which is
yeah,
terrifying because there's
but,
so
I
many
worked
people who
in
could do that.
banking at that time, but again, not in the UK. It was in the US, and just pre 2008 when
Mhm.
obviously the everything
2005.
changed a little bit. But yeah, 2005, I was working in banking. There was no way I would have given
Sorry,
money out.
2004.
Like literally there's regulations in federal law. Like you cannot,
Yeah.
like you wouldn't be able to
Maybe
access
it's
that
different
money.
in the UK.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. But maybe this person was like, oh, your dad's dead. But like, where's the death certificate?
I
Like
don't-
that's all shit we would need.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. It didn't get too deep into that. Maybe he had
Yeah.
one. Maybe he forged one.
Sure.
It's possible.
Sure.
Photoshop was around then.
Yeah. I feel like I don't totally remember. That would have went. I don't remember what our procedures were, but like there was a lot of documentation.
Oh, for
we
sure.
would have to have, and it would go to an estate, and I don't know. Wow. But yeah, clearly these kids. Yeah, this is why I'm like, maybe we just don't do that. Maybe we don't have kids.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. They're terrifying.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, shit. That was episode 24.
Yes. Hammer time.
Hammer time. Although yours was also a knife, and that's
It was.
also terrifying.
Excuse me. But it
I
started
just-
with a claw hammer.
Yeah. You know what? Okay. At our Tampa house the other day, I don't know if I told you about this, but I was going to go out into the front yard and then I heard this clinking really loud and I was like, what is that? And I opened the front door and looked like to the left and in front of our neighbor's house. There was a guy with a machete chopping down, like the one that came that day and he was like, do you need help with the tire or whatever?
Oh, that's
Had like a huge ass rusted machete and he was like hitting the plants right there and cutting them down. And I was like, nope.
Be careful.
And I closed the door. 'cause
No,
I was
thank
like,
you.
I just don't like any of that.
No.
So anyway,
Don't give that guy bath salts.
no, man, how different too. Florida and the UK.
Yeah.
I just, this one was not my favorite.
I do feel like there's a good amount of UK based murders
Oh, yeah?
that we've covered. It's like
We actually
it feels like
have.
it's either like New York City,
Mhm.
the UK or Florida.
Florida. Well, you know, Florida has like open record. It's like whenever you see Datelines and like all that kind of stuff, it usually features like Colorado and Florida. And that's because they have complete open records. So
Oh,
you
I
can
didn't
just
know that.
access all of it. Yeah. So that is, that's
why
often
you
why
hear-
they're featured. Yeah.
Whoa.
A lot on there, which is interesting.
You learn something new every day.
I know. So that would be me as British.
I know.
I know. that went Australia.
I know.
All right. Well, that's episode 24. I'll do the plug now. If you love our content, want to see more, give us a thumbs up on this episode on YouTube. If you're not on YouTube, then go and rate and review on Apple and Spotify and subscribe. Thank you so much.
So
Any
much.
last words? That sounds weird.
Mm,
Any
no.
parting
Any
words?
last words before I murder you?
Right.
Pretty-
It was so nice to be here.
Great. All right. Well, we'll catch you at episode 25. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.